Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is January the 14th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully, you've had a good Tuesday. I myself have. I'd say really the only problem I've had is we definitely have a new parking gate situation. Essentially, there's a car that's been in my spot since pretty much like around the last snow. And I guess they're doing work on it or something. So that we got our parking lot mechanics. So I mean, we'll see. Time's gonna tell when I'm gonna get my spot back. But luckily, I haven't had to do any extra walking. At least not tonight. I got my little visitor spot there, so that was clutch. But outside of that little problem, things have been good. Let's see. We went to work. Work was good. I found out today that Martin Luther King Day is finally voluntary, so that's neat. That's nice. Clap it up for my job on that one. Very progressive, very cool. But no, I'm going to work it though, just because I think there's an incentive to work it. Plus, if there wasn't, I wasn't going to burn any like excess PTO for it. I'm sorry. Martin Luther King. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I got to make my money. We live in a capitalist society, and I'm alive right now. So it is what it is. I'm fine with that. I'm especially happy about it if I'm making a little bit extra money. You know what I mean? But yeah, overall today was good. It was solid. In terms of the gym was nice. We hit some personal bests, on some of the equipment and stuff. So that felt good. We always like doing that. Just overall felt like a good workout. So we love that feeling. Let's see here. Is there really anything else to report? I'm going to say no. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and we'll get into some news. Oi. Quick food corner because I forgot. Mexican beef and rice bowl. The usual ingredients, the usual, sides and accessories, the chips, the tortillas, all that. So it was gummy. It was good. Hopefully they didn't come off as gummy because I said yummy. It would be bad if I had a Mexican meal that was gummy, right? I wouldn't enjoy that. Anywho, all right. From the Guardian, Peru prosecutors pursue whiff of scandal over president's secret nose job. I'll give it to the Guardian. They at least know when to be a little funny, spring a little humor in there. The nose. The Peruvian president, Dina Boluarte, has appeared before prosecutors to explain a 2-week absence for plastic surgery on her nose that she insists was medical, not cosmetic. Boluarte, 62, did not appoint a caretaker president for the period of her absence in July of 2023 and stands accused of abandoning her post. She appeared before prosecutors investigating the case for 4 hours on Monday and left without speaking to reporters waiting outside. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. Some lawmakers have called for Boluarte to be removed from office. She had not informed the public or delegated her powers to Congress as determined by law. But her team said she carried out her duties virtually while recovering at a clinic in Lima from rhinoplasty for breathing problems. Boluarte has been embroiled in controversy for months, and I would say this slew of things is where we kind of realize, we're burying the lead here, but that's just kind of how, like, when I initially listened to this on the BBC, it flows the same way. But prosecutors also accuse her of accepting bribes in the form of Rolex watches and jewelry, and she has been being investigated over the deaths of more than 50 protesters during a crackdown on demonstrations against her presidency in 2022. She has denied any wrongdoing. Boluarte took office in December of that year, replacing the left-wing president Pedro Castillo after he was impeached and imprisoned for unsuccessfully trying to dissolve Congress. So yeah, I mean, we've talked about Dina a little bit before. It's not our first time. It's not her first time on the pod, but that being said, she needed a little nose job, needed a little rhinoplasty. I overall think the top part of this is not that big of an offense. Yes, she should have put in a caretaker, like those are the rules. I imagine she just was like, I can do this, so I'm going to, or she wanted to maybe try to sidestep it and be discreet, but it just didn't work. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the Lloyd Austin shit, which we also covered. And I mean, technically, he might get a mention in the next article, but we'll see. That being said, like I said, they buried the lead here when we get to the part of the fact that the blood of 50 protesters might be on her hands. That's more of a reason to get someone out of office, for sure. Obviously, though, I know that there are, political reasons why they want her out. And overall, she has said, hey, I'm not leaving until 2026, which is when her term is up in July of 2026. So, I mean, I guess we'll see how that goes. That's the situation in Peru as we know it right now. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting little story there, especially obviously up top with the new nose job. I really didn't I kind of cycled through pictures, kind of quick. I do see it, but I'm like, I guess they did a pretty good job. You know what I mean? But there you go. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now let's get to probably the bigger story of the day, for sure. Definitely took up a lot of oxygen, but I will say, first I was like, man, where's that news at? Where it at though? And then I kind of started realizing, like, okay, no, it's around. I just gotta wait for it. Gotta get the net. Anyway, from CNN, takeaways from Pete Hegseth's contentious confirmation hearing. Now, I want to say up top, I really want to quick riff this. I don't really want to get too in the weeds because we have more of these confirmations coming down the pipe. And I've been thinking about how I want to cover it, and it's probably going to be akin to how we covered him doing the picks in the cabinet for Trump. Because, some are more interesting and controversial than others. Some of these motherfuckers are just bad. They're gross people, of course. But, they're more or less wallpaper, nothing burger people to me. I don't really know. I don't really have any details on it. So unless there's, any kind of highlights or fireworks out of that, I'm probably not going to cover certain people in their hearings. Because they're probably going to just be like, okay, quick approve, whatever. Yeah, there's some asshole. We'll see what they do. But definitely Hegseth. I imagine, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, those are definitely some highlights that I want to see how those are going to go. We'll see. But Hegseth is probably the spiciest one. I've said this before. Initially, Gates was, but Gates, he stepped down. So after that, it more or less the biggest target was on Hegseth, and more or less everyone rallied around this dude. And, despite the allegations and all the bullshit, he looks pretty primed to get the position, despite more or less his lack of experience. I love the quote of he's a guy with he's still got dust on his boots. What the fuck? What are we talking about? Okay, so did Lloyd Austin or whatever, then by the same metric you're kind of using here. At the same time, though, he doesn't have the pedigree outside of lower military management shit. He doesn't have the upper military chops, but okay, whatever. That's one of the I would say many problems, but overall, let's just kind of read this part right here, and we might kind of maybe breeze through some takeaways. Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's nominee to lead the Pentagon, acknowledged Tuesday he is not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect person. Anyway, but was defiant in the face of multiple allegations surrounding his past conduct during a contentious confirmation hearing. Hegseth dismissed the allegation that he sexually assaulted a woman in 2017 as false and part of a coordinated smear campaign, claiming that the attacks against him were an attempt to use him to smear the president-elect. Or maybe, you do have these things out there and, it was settled. Yeah, no charges are filed, but it's it is out there. It's a known thing that you did that happened. Let's read a little bit more. Democrats pressed Hegseth on allegations of sexual misconduct and excessive drinking. In one particular contentious exchange, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia pressed Hegseth on his infidelity stemming from the 2017 incident in a Monterey, California hotel room, which prompted a sexual assault investigation by local police that did not result in any charges. Let's see here. And then I think this is another important thing that was really like focused on by a lot of Democrats, or at least Democratic senators. And I think even one Republican as well, or at least one. Democratic senators also confronted Hegseth with his prior comment suggesting that women should not serve in combat roles, raising quotes from his book published last year. Now, Hegseth responded that women make amazing contributions to the military, arguing that his comments questioning women serving in combat were tied to the military standards and readiness. So I love this like backdoor he's carved out for himself now that he's, his feet are to the fire on this fucking issue. Essentially, he's saying, no. I'm down with women. Also, it's important to add too that people of color, blacks, have been involved here in Hegseth. He drags this all though into the idea of like, hey, I didn't mean that like women shouldn't serve. It's just if they're gonna serve, if they're gonna be in combat roles, they need to hit the military standard of combat readiness or whatever, of readiness. And like that should be the truest metric. Okay. That's what I really meant by that. People are taking what I'm saying out of context. Like, brother, that's fucking bullshit. And now you've had this weird parachute with this whole standards bullshit now. Like, okay, dude. All right. Like, I'm willing to forgo your weird little racial tattoo you got there for whatever crusade on his little titty. That's neither here nor there. Whatever. Like, there's no dodging the shit that you said and you did, in my opinion. But at the same time, you see Hegseth here defying gravity because despite the fact that like all these Democrats are bringing this shit up, like it all comes down to the majority here. And if the Republicans who have it are going to say, hey, we like this guy, all of us are lockstep here, then he's going to get it. And it looks like Hegseth has that. Like anyone who kind of came in before was like, okay, after the conversation, after the hearing, they're like, all right, I support him. It's fine. So, I mean, like, what's the point of really getting into the weeds about all this shit? You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm stuck at with this shit. So, I mean, that's kind of a brief little description of the situation in Hegseth and where we're at with this bullshit right now. It does look like he's going to get it. And I would say that if he's going to get it, it kind of seems like the green light for all of these fucking freaks to just kind of come in. You know what I mean? They're all going to be a part of the fucking cabinet. They're all going to be in the little menagerie, if you will. So yeah, I mean, kind of keeping it in Congress, we're going to move along. It's not good news. And we're not moving to another good story. So, I kind of missed the nose jobs already, Anyway, from CBS News. House passes ban on transgender students in girls' sports. The House on Tuesday passed a Republican measure banning transgender girls and women from competing on school sports teams that match their gender identity after the party leaned into the issue during the 2024 campaign. The bill, known as the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, would amend Title IX, the federal law banning sex discrimination in schools, to recognize a person's sex as based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Schools allow a person whose sex is male to participate in an athletic program or activity that is designated for women or girls, risk losing federal funding. It passed in the House with a 2018 voting in favor, 206 voting against, and 1 voting present. 2 Democrats from Texas, Representatives Henry Cooler and Vincent Gonzalez, joined all Republicans in support of the bill. Democratic Representative Don Davis of North Carolina voted present. So first and foremost, boo all those motherfuckers right there. Fuck them on that shit. But that being said, even without the Democrats, like these little moderate fuckers, like swaying over, it doesn't matter. Like the Democrats or the Republicans have the power to like push this through in the House, so it's going to happen in the House. Y'all know how I fucking feel about this shit. Obviously, I don't feel well about this. It's worth noting that we're talking about a 3%. 3% of high schoolers, and this is from the CDC. About 3% of high school students identify as transgender. Polling in recent years has found a lack of support for transgender athletes participating on sports teams that match their identity, and about half of the states limit transgender athlete participation. But I really want to focus on that 3% number. It's not high. And essentially, over this, we are fucking making this huge uproar. We're passing these fucking bills. You know, we talked earlier, was it into last year, whatever, about the fucking bathroom bill and shit in Congress. It's like all of this shit does not help America. It doesn't solve any of America's ills or whatever. We are talking culture war, fucking politics. But okay, all right, you did it. You got this, because I really do think that this is going to get kicked up to the Senate. That is now once again Republican. It's everything's red, baby. And essentially, this is probably going to go through without any hitch. I find that to be very fucking unfortunate. I know people are going to rah, 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 blah, blah, blah. I've had this argument so many fucking times. It's very annoying, but it is what it is. But I am curious to see, I guess, how it goes in the Senate. But like I said, I think I do kind of know. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I hope to see less of this shit in conversation, in terms of our political discourse and shit, but I doubt it, because at the end of the day, these people don't have any fucking answers for our real problems or our real issues. So they're like, oh, we gotta deal with these confused kids. Oh my God, we gotta stop this stuff. It's crazy. It's so confusing. You're confusing your kids. Okay, whatever, dude. Like, all right, now what? Can we eventually get to some real issues and real problems and solve them? Probably fucking not. But we'll see. I'm sure it'll be this or some DEI fucking shit throughout the goddamn year. But yeah, it does feel like one of those things where we just gotta kind of take this shit in stride. You know what I mean? It's one of those chips are down moments, and it's gonna be like that for the next 4 years. I wish I had more positive things to say there, but that being said, I'm never going to shy away from covering this kind of shit, and, keeping everybody posted, and, all we can do is kind of rally around each other. That's all I can say, I guess. But yeah, I have one more story that I wanted to cover, and then we'll go ahead and move along and, get on with our nights, our days. Let's see here. We're going to, this is the Miami Herald that we're going to look at this. I was going to do a Will Smith number, but technically we're going to Cuba. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. I'm actually going to get a little personal with y'all since we're at the end. Why not? I've kind of said this before. I'll say it again. I'm trying to manifest a PlayStation 5 this year. That's my goal. I'm also working on my patience, because I wanted to pull the trigger the other day. Like, I think it was Sunday. I literally, post gym, I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna just get it. Devil may care. And then I was like, not even halfway, and I turned back around and I went home, because I'm like, Isaiah, no. We got a new car. We got a new budget. Like, and that motherfucker is tight. We can't do this. Like, maybe with some tax money, maybe that's the windfall we need. Maybe it's in the budget if the money falls where it needs to. We'll see. I don't know, but it's not today, and I've been like that every day. But that being said, I'm working on it. I'm working on patience. I feel like this is growing up. It's one of those things where I remember kid me, I wanted a Wii so bad. I got like mad at my dad about it. Like, it was like a dumb argument, and it was so silly and fucking stupid. But like, I wanted a Wii so bad. I was calling like all the stores and like couldn't find it. I eventually wound up having to kind of give up because it just wasn't in the cards. You know what I mean? It just didn't work out. And I eventually got a Wii years later. But once again, that was of circumstance. I'm now an adult. I now have the keys to the fucking, treasure. So I can raid the coffers and make it happen. I've done it before, and sadly I'll do it again. But like, once again, this is a test in patience for me. And I'm trying real hard, y'all. And, I found so far a good way to stop yourself from doing a thing is just pay your bills. Just pay your bills. Because guess what? That's a reality check. It just gets cash for you automatically. And now I'm like, oh, well, I don't have the money now. All right. Sorry about that. That was a long aside from the Miami Herald. Biden removes Cuba. I gotta stop doing that. Biden removes Cuba from list of sponsors of terrorism. Lifts sanctions on Cuban military. In a last-minute move before he... Sorry, I bumped the table. In a last-minute move before he leaves office next week, President Joe Biden removed Cuba from the list of countries that sponsor terrorism, lifted sanctions on companies run by Cuba's military, and again suspended a provision in a law that allows Cuban Americans to seek compensation for confiscated property on the island. Now, some of these things feel like, oh, that's good. These are good things. What a good vibe, right? The last thing I hate, he put in here, I fucking hate. Don't like that. And so it leaves me with this weird, like, taste in my mouth for a second until it kind of settles and I realize why the fuck Biden did this shit. Why Biden has done any of the shit he's done this week, most of which I haven't really covered or this week, this month, whatever. You know, we covered him giving the pardon to, Big Dick Hunter Biden or whatever. But, this shit was interesting, and I do find it to be like 2/3 good, right? But overall, it doesn't fucking matter because he knows good and fucking damn well that Trump's gonna come through and undo this shit. His administration is going to make sure that this doesn't do anything at the end of the day. And everyone knows it. He knows it. So it's like, what? Are you doing this for legacy points? You fucking old piece of shit. Like, no one cares. Everyone's going to call you a loser and then you're going to poof, disappear. That is how this is going to work, Joe. And you know that. I wish he wouldn't even bother to do this shit. Because if he really meant it, if he really fucking meant it, he would have implemented this shit so much sooner, so way before. And don't give me that bullshit about like, oh, well, he cared about his fucking like image for the campaign for the next term or whatever. Bullshit, bull fucking shit, dude. Oh gosh, I remember I was talking about this with my friends. I don't think I talked about this on the episode because I haven't talked much about fucking Biden. I've been trying not to, but Biden, this fucker, they did an interview with him, and he said, I think really, truly, I could have beat Trump. I do. But, like, that's one of his regrets, is that he didn't run, that he bowed out to the pressure. But he went on to add that he doesn't think that he had the mental capacity, the faculties. He doesn't think he had it in him, really, though, to fully finish out the second term. I'm honestly paraphrasing this a bit here. It's off the cuff. But it's like, how do you, you have to be demented. You have to be crazy as fuck to say that shit out loud to someone. Like, you're giving it up right then and there to the guy who's doing this interview with you. Bro, like, no, man. So, motherfuckers was definitely right to cut the cord. It's crazy that the shit went on as long as it fucking did. It's crazy that the media backed the shit for as long as they fucking did. And act like their hands were tied the whole time. No, dude. You made the choice. You backed the motherfucker. Anyway, We're getting off here. I know that at the end of the day, like, this is supposed to be more about Cuba. Let's see here. In a statement on Tuesday afternoon, the Cuban Foreign Ministry said Cuba's leader told Pope Francis in a letter earlier this month of the decision to release 553 convicted of several crimes that are punishable by law. So I believe that apparently Catholicism is a bit, the Catholic Church is a bit to do with part of how this kind of got ginned up. So let me actually backpedal a little bit here. The 3 measures announced Tuesday were described as unilateral actions taken by President Biden as a gesture of goodwill to facilitate a deal mediated by the Catholic Church that would lead to the release of Cuban political prisoners, including people who took part in the island-wide July 11th of 2021 demonstrations, a senior administration official told reporters. So that's kind of a bit of the reason for the season here. But I mean, obviously, we're lifting sanctions to make this kind of this kind of shit happen. I mean, obviously, though, we're still not talking about lifting any kind of fucking embargo. Of course. Still light work. And also the adding of like, hey, if you, I'm trying to think if I can find the part here. Let's see if I can kind of skim to it. Essentially there is, sorry, I'm in the weeds. But Biden is trying to allow people who it's like, oh, you are a citizen here and like you had property confiscated by the Cuban government. You can now sue to, get compensation for that. And that was something that I think Clinton had suspended, if I'm not mistaken. And then Trump had lifted. I might be getting that confused or twisted there, mea culpa. But essentially, Biden is now opening that up. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Trump would have probably done that anyway again. So I don't know, man. So this shit overall does feel loose. It does feel like he's doing it for political points, once again, for his quote unquote legacy. Which I don't think it's really doing him any favors. But then again, but speaking of favors, if overall too, he was saying, hey, like this is something that the Catholic church wants, then, Biden is a little Catholic. He's a little Catholic baby at heart. So, it pulled at his heartstrings to maybe appease them. I don't know. Or really fucking care. Let's see here. I didn't find the thing I was looking for, but oh well. I feel like I paraphrased it well enough. And if not, you can always read the article and you can let me know how bad I did. Please don't do that. That would be mean and that would make me sad. You can always leave a comment and tell me like, hey, you did pretty good. That was fun. I enjoyed listening. Those are nice comments you can leave. Also, subscribe to the YouTube. Hit that shit, like that shit. Yeah, I'm doing this out of order a little bit, so bear with me, work with me here. We're at the end. But yeah, thanks so much. I don't know, wait. I'm backwards. The wine's taking over. No, let's see. Oh man, this is a botched ending. If you'd like to help out, support the effort I do with Patreon. There we go. Now we're back on. Patreon.com/Isaiah Let's see. I'm on all the socials. The Facebook or Meta, whatever. I'm on X. Oh man, we are not crushing it at the end here. Like I said, we mentioned the YouTube. Also, feel free to, if you want to follow on the Spotify, that's an option. That's a mode. But yeah, do the same on any of the listening platforms. Like I said, hit the like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.